Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of my favorite series of all time. I've probably legitimately watched it 100 times. The cartoon I'm talking about. Not that garbage show. Wasn't really garbage. It was just like a 7 out of 10, I don't understand why they even made it kind of show. They made it so they can bank on the popularity of Avatar. A lot of people watched it just because they loved the old Avatar cartoon and they were like, well, it's something else Avatar, I'll go ahead and consume it. Even though I know it's not going to be as good. A lot of people glazed it. I remember that. Like, oh, this show is going to be amazing. It's going to be 10 out of 10. And a lot of people, when it came out, were like, this show is amazing. 10 out of 10. One of the best shows I've ever seen. And now nobody talks about it. Until now. But they're still not talking about season 1. They're just talking about what's coming in season 2. And there's a lot of problems and a lot of things that I don't understand. It's like they're destroying this show on purpose. They're doing all of the things wrong. While everybody's complaining about DEI and masculinity, masculine women and all that, Avatar was like, nope, we're gonna go the other direction. We're gonna do the other thing that you don't like. Make a masculine character more feminine. Because why? If there was any feminine character that needed to be masculine, it was Toph. Okay, well, let's get into this, what she's got to say about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have my work cut out for me. It was just the other day that I finally did a video talking about something that I like with the Marvel Rivals game, but in the midst of doing that, right when I was putting out that video, yet another big scandal of people behind the scenes in the entertainment industry of today not understanding a major character and making a lot of changes to them without any sort of acknowledgement of the damage that it would do to that character.
It's because they don't care about the character, they don't care about the source material. All they care about with the source material is the fact that it has a big name and it's a big IP, and they can make money off of it. Really what they're doing is they want to make their own show. They're just not good enough at writing to do that. So they have to steal the IP of something that people already liked, so they can bank on that. And then it doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10, because people will watch it just for the nostalgia factor.
And I have a little bit to discuss in terms of what character that is, what changes that they're making, and basically, you know, who I am on this channel, because people project a lot onto me and what my motivations are behind the scenes. So let's get into that. This has to do with the live action Avatar: Last Airbender show. I watched one episode of that show and gave up, as maybe longtime viewers will recall. I thought it was awful. I thought that it misunderstood the characters.
Oh, she is so lucky that she didn't watch it. I watched the whole thing so I could make a video about it, and I wish I didn't. I wish I just didn't watch it because it hurt. It hurt me to watch it until the episode with the witch. That was a cool episode. Probably the coolest episode out of all of them, and it was still like an 8 out of 10 episode compared to all the 5 out of 10 episodes, bringing the show up to a 7 out of 10. Compared to the original, which was a 10 out of 10, and they completely screwed up all of the characters. Every single one of them. There was not a single good character.
And they had controversy with one of the changes they made to the characters with Sokka, removing his sexism, and that changed his characters and changed, you know, they even changed his immaturity. It was a Johnny Storm situation, what they did recently with that character, wrecking them. So basically, they're making it to where Sokka is going to be the same character the whole time. The only thing that's going to become different is he's going to be better at fighting, I guess, toward the end. And that's going to be his character arc. He starts out as not a very good fighter and ends up being a very good fighter. And that just doesn't make for a good character, especially compared to the original Sokka. For the same excuses where we are culturally, couldn't have that character. Really stupid stuff to not acknowledge why the character would have these flaws or what they would mean. But here's the thing. In this day and age, it's for the very same reason that they've been saying why they've been changing a lot of male characters like that, is that they assume even having a male character with those flaws of being immature and how he thinks of and treats women means that you're somehow condoning that, or that that's offensive because people in the audience just aren't going to be able to handle even seeing that for a character who's supposed to be our protagonist.
Not only that, but they think that people are going to resonate with that character and they're going to repeat what Sokka does and says because they like Sokka, and they're going to be like, oh, he's a sexist? Well, I'm going to be a sexist too. They think that's how people's minds work.
Understanding the journey that it is supposed to send that character on in terms of an arc. But it seemed like the showrunners of Avatar were just of that mindset, and I just think it's so pointless because they made those changes and it ended up making things worse. It changed the personality of the character a lot, and it changed his dynamic with his girlfriend later in the show, to now she is the one pursuing him rigorously, rather than teaching him as it was in the original show. But I guess I thought that the Avatar Last Airbender live action remake people were of that mindset, this sort of modern day mindset. But then this comes out, and when they announced that they were going to do a second season and Toph was going to come in.
Yeah, they're just doing everything wrong. They're doing everything wrong for no reason. I don't get it anymore. I just think maybe they're retarded. They're just retarded. I can't think of any other reason that they would do this, where they'd put all this modern stuff and be like, well, Sokka can't be sexist. We gotta have more masculine women, more powerful women. But then when it comes to the actual most powerful woman in the show, when it comes to like actual like muscles and stuff, no, we're gonna make her more feminine. Because that makes fucking sense.
And Toph is like one of my favorite characters from the original show.
She literally is my favorite character. Not one of them, she is my favorite character. She has the coolest backstory, to where she was just like this normal girl, part of like a noble family, and she just wants to be a dirty hippie out in the woods, barefooted, and she's also blind, and also probably the best earthbender ever, invented metal bending.
And what I think is the second best character, the first would be Zuko, a character so well written it actually ruined other characters and other villains as they were trying to mimic his journey from villain to hero. But anyway, I knew that they were going to find some way to ruin Toph because they don't understand anything about that original show. But this is what was said about her, with the actress of the character saying, "My version of Toph is going to be a little older and slightly more feminine." Now, that alone is a major misunderstanding of the character. The entire point of Toph
wasn't a misunderstanding. No, they understand the character. They just don't want to write that character. They want to write their own character. They want to project themselves into the show. She's probably more feminine, so she's like, I want to make Toph more feminine because I'm more feminine. And it makes absolutely no sense other than that. That is the only explanation that I can come up with, that they just want to make their own character.
Is that she is one of the younger ones, and that is subversive with how strong and powerful she is and how wise she is when it comes to earthbending. And to say that she's more feminine is also very, very confusing because while I wouldn't say that
I don't think they're gonna have her invent metal bending. I think they don't know that happens. I don't think these people have watched the original show. They maybe have watched it in clips on TikTok. They maybe have read some synopsis of the episodes, and that's what they did to write the show, and then they looked at like screenshots and clips to get the world building and how everything's supposed to look, and then didn't actually care about what the show was about, or didn't understand it.
Toph is straight up a masculine character, but kind of the point of Toph, and it is made very, very explicit in the show, is that she comes from this very reserved family that doesn't accept her for who she is. They're very overprotective. They want her to, wear dresses and makeup and be much more reserved and feminine, but she doesn't want to be that way. She sneaks out and engages in earthbending matches. She walks around with her bare feet. Well, she does that because she needs to feel the earth.
They wouldn't know that. They're not going to put that in the show. Guaranteed they're not going to put that in the show, that she has to be barefoot so she can feel the ground. I don't want to watch it, but I totally am. Totally going to watch it. I'm not paying for it, though. I'm going to be sailing the high seas for this one.
But she dresses a bit more tomboyish, and she's really a very rambunctious character at heart, and that's who she really is, and that's what makes her so entertaining to watch.
Toph, she must be so scared.
You think you're so tough? Why don't you come up here so I can smack that grin off your face?
I'm not smiling.
And so it's kind of the point, and it's made very, very clear that Toph has rejected this sort of femininity of wearing dresses and makeup and all of that, because she sees that, she associates that with the restrictions of the family that she comes from and that she's trying to escape from, is essentially what is going on there. So you see, it's very, very key to who the character is and what her story is, and her background of being forced into being a more feminine character and what that has made her become now. So that's these are very, very key things, and they're key aspects that they're removing from the character. But it says here, next sentence, I feel like I wanted to work into a very humanizing space for her because, you know, she was a cartoon.
What? Are you insane? She is the most powerful earthbender. Invents metal bending. Wants to be more human? Wants her to be less of a cartoon? It's a fucking cartoon. You're doing a live action remake of a cartoon. It is, I don't even know what to say about this. It's still a cartoon. Like, even though it's live action, it's still a cartoon. Like, none of this stuff that's happening in this show can happen in real life. They have to use CG to make things look the way they do. So it's still animated. It's still a fucking cartoon. And we don't need her to be more human. They're not humans like we are. They are benders. They have magical powers. Things don't work the same. Personalities don't work the same in this world.
So that's also gotten people upset because, number one, you're saying that the character wasn't more human already because she was a cartoon, as if cartoon characters can't be very well written, dynamic, and expressive like cartoon.
Well, to be fair, they don't know what a well-written character means because they never have made one. They don't know how to make one.
Characters can be even more expressive than live action. Certainly they're more expressive than the blank-faced characters of this show, but in just those two sentences, they expressed a major misunderstanding of the character and a disrespect for the original show. And that's just what we see these days, just constantly. What I was talking about the other day with Johnny Storm is a disrespect to the original characters from the material that they are ripping off of.
Because they think they can make better characters than the original. They understand that these shows are popular, these things are popular, but they hate the fan base of them. They think that they are terrible people and they shouldn't exist, and they don't want them to be alive anymore in most cases. So they'll take your favorite thing and destroy it. Make everybody excited for it, and then they destroy it. And people who aren't paying attention go into it thinking it's going to be amazing, and they're hurt. And guess what? They still make the money from it because you still watched it. And the more and more this happens, the more and more I'm going to be sailing the high seas.
But I want to explain something here, because these are two polar opposite discussions that we're having recently. One was on Johnny Storm and taking away all of his flaws, essentially. They want him to be a more melancholy character. They want him to be more sensitive. They don't want him to be the teasing, hot-headed, flirtatious character that he is supposed to be in the comics. And I got upset with that and accused them of emasculating him, essentially, which is what has happened to a lot of male characters these days. And a lot of people accuse me when I take that term to say, oh, Jester Bell, you're just this anti-woke, conservative, whoever. Like, people project what my beliefs must be based on making a stance like that. You don't understand, or really...
The people who are yelling about all that kind of stuff don't consume the same content that we consume. They only consume the woke content. If they even do that, they might not even consume any content, and they're just pretending. A lot of people do this. Just look at Avowed, the video game Avowed. I had thousands upon thousands of people hating on me on various platforms. Not all those people played Avowed. There's no way. When Avowed barely had a few thousand players on Steam. There's no way. A lot of those people had to have just been lying or bots. And I think that's what's going on here. People are lying. They're liars. They're not actually consuming this content. They're just wanting to get a rise out of people. Make things worse. They want to say that we're just hate baiting, but we're the ones just giving our opinions and not mentioning anybody else, just giving our opinions. And then they come in insulting us, calling us grifters, saying we're hate baiting. They're the ones really hate baiting because they're wanting us to comment so they can insult us even more. Nothing you can say to these people are going to change them or change their mind. They do this for fun. They do this because they think they're on the correct side of history, and they think they're going to be correct no matter what, and that you're wrong, and that you've always been wrong because everything's always been wrong. We're the weird ones, not them, the ones who didn't exist until like 10 years ago. They're not the weird ones, they're normal. They're the new normal. and they think that we should be the new normal. And it's not normal. It's fucking weird.
Acknowledge what my beliefs actually are. I am not a political person. I do not care about politics first and foremost.
I even go a step further than that. I am anti-political.
People don't understand that some of us are weird nerds and we care more about the writing of these characters that we love than we do any sort of political narrative.
Yeah, we care about the writing and the characters in these shows. The people that are against us care about the writers. They don't care about what they're writing. They only care about the writers and the writers' feelings because they're one of them. They want to destroy everything that we love because we're problematic.
So if you are changing Johnny Storm, a character that I am very emotionally attached to, and I am more emotionally attached to the Marvel characters than I am to even the Avatar characters, let's say, that's why I got more upset. If you are changing a character who he is supposed to be at its core, not because you misunderstand him, but because you are trying to appease some sort of culture that doesn't exist because you think that people can't handle basic flaws, then that's going to get me really mad, and I'm going to fight you over that because here you are ruining a character for no reason. And that's what happened with Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender too. But so the confusing thing that people might say of making that sort of projection of my beliefs on here and what matters most to me might be, oh, well, why would you have a problem with making a character more feminine? Because isn't that what the anti-woke want? I never claimed to be an anti-woke person on here. I am merely just a person who cares about the writing.
Let's appease the anti-woke crowd, the people who actually watch our shows, by putting in a feminine character. They want a feminine character. So instead of doing it to Sokka's girlfriend or Katara, let's do it to the actual masculine woman. They're just making all the characters the same. They're bringing Toph down to the level of Katara and I can't remember the chick's. Why can't I remember her name? Sokka's girlfriend, Suki. They're bringing everybody down onto the same level because everybody has to be the same. Somebody can't be better than the other one. Somebody can't be worse than the other one. Their flaws have to be emotional only. They can't be moral flaws. They have to be emotional. They have to be problems that they see within themselves that they have to overcome as a powerful woman.
So maybe you would have some people on that side who would demand more feminine characters. My stance on having more feminine characters, it's just that it's become a go-to for a long time to have to, when female characters are supposed to be strong, that they're supposed to be more masculine. And after a lot of those characters that were bad at that, I was just like, it's not bad. You could have characters who are strong and also a little bit more feminine. Like, that's not a bad thing at all. It's just saying that you can have a character who is a strong woman and embraces femininity.
And then when they finally figure it out, they finally do it right, they finally get a more masculine woman character that's as masculine as she needs to be and still somehow feminine, still somehow a woman, a powerful woman, you get movies like Borderlands, where it's just garbage, it's trash. And then the character also sucks. They got the amount of masculine right in Borderlands for Lilith, but everything else, including Lilith's character, was just garbage. They don't know how to write. I think they have deemed all of the best writers a problem, so they fired them all and aren't letting them work.
The same time. But at the same time, it's also not bad at its core to have a female character who is maybe a bit more masculine in how she presents herself. And by the way, it's not necessarily bad to have a male character who is more masculine, or maybe he's an emasculated character. It's all about what is the purpose of this story? What is the purpose of this character? What is the point behind them? And what is the reasoning for this character being that way?
I can answer that for you. The way they think is not about the story within itself. They're thinking about the agenda that they have outside of writing the thing. They're thinking about their in real life agenda, their IRL agenda, how they want people to think. They're trying to force thoughts into people's heads.
And are you changing it not because of any narrative sense to it, but because you are trying to appease a certain group? And that is what I'm saying here with Toph, is none of the reasons that they gave for making her this way made any sense.
They're not really trying to appease a certain group, I don't think. I think they're just trying to make it so there's no problems for anybody, so everybody can watch it. And it just makes everything the same. It just makes it another show that is going to be forgotten about, and nobody's going to think it's great. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender. People still think that there are no cartoons better than it. Do they think that about the Avatar show? Absolutely not.
Seems like a egregious misunderstanding of the character, and I would wonder, is this happening because the pendulum is swinging far back the other way, and they've heard a lot of criticism for masculine female characters, and the idea for so long that that's kind of been the standard of when we have a strong female character, they're more masculine. And by the way, that is kind of the mindset that Toph was a character created under. She was originally supposed to be a boy, and then they came up with this character, and then they asked, well, why couldn't this just as well be a female character? At the time that Avatar was coming out, there was a bit more of a handle on feminism from these shows, a bit more of an understanding about how to do these characters correctly, and it wasn't necessarily the fact that Toph was masculine that made her a strong character, it was the sense that made to her character. So my question is, since their read on her just doesn't make any sense here, why is she more older and more feminine when that goes exactly against her character very explicitly? I was wondering, is it an overcorrection that we've had just a lot of masculine, strong female characters lately?
I could guarantee probably has something to do with it, because they're at the end of the day trying to make money, and if they have a masculine female character in it while everybody's bitching about masculine female characters, they can't have that, because that's going to put some people off. And all they're doing at the end of the day is just pandering to an audience that doesn't exist. They don't want to offend the people who don't like masculine characters, or who don't like masculine females, so they're going to tone her down a little bit, because they do not understand the audience at all. I think streaming has a lot to do with it, because you can't really see an audience. All you see is people who checked out the show. All you see is people who put it on in the background, because it's free. It's a free show. You're already paying for Netflix. It's on there. You might as well watch it, right? And then you don't see who actually has love for this show, because there's no sales for it. There's just views. And you can't, there's not a rating system anymore. There's not a like system. There used to be.
That have gotten a lot of criticism, and this is the pendulum swing too far back. But at this point, I don't understand where Hollywood is really at, because on the one hand, you know, we're kind of seeing the thing with Johnny Storm, which is the same thing that we've seen over and over again, where they're afraid of male characters being, you know, a bit more rambunctious, you know, a bit more flawed, a bit more flirtatious.
I have the answer for you. They don't care about the character. They want to make their own character. I think I said this already in the video. They want to project themselves into the character. The chick that's playing Toph is more of a feminine person, so she wants to make the character that she's playing more feminine, because they're giving them free reign to make the characters however they want for some reason.
A bit more rude in the case of Sokka as well. You can't have that. Can't have any sort of sexism or misogyny that a character has to grow out of, even if it's explicitly portrayed as a bad thing that they have to grow out of. That has to be removed because they're afraid of offending people by even depicting that. But on the other hand, now we hear it from Toph, where for a while
they're not even afraid of offending the audience. They're afraid of offending the people that they work with. Because they're not like, oh, people are going to freak out online about this, because either way, they're going to freak out online. People that they've never met before, know nothing about, they're going to freak out online. But if the person next to them in the writing room is freaking out, that's somebody right next to them. And they want that person to like them. So they're going to do what that person wants. Which just happens to be also something that they agree with. Everybody agrees. You know why? Because they're in a cult.
Now, with this same mindset, it's been just common to take a more masculine approach to female characters and a more making sure that they are strong and all of that. And they made changes to Katara, which were misguided changes because she was already strong in the original show, where they actually softened the story of her overcoming sexism, because that's the way we are in this day and age. Everything is softened up. Everything is made super sensitively because they're afraid of offending people. Even people just seeing the depictions of such things, even if it's there just to make a feminist statement. But with Toph, it's confusing because you think that they would just go forward with a character like this as it was.
If they do what they actually need to do, what they should do, then they'll get canceled by their peers and they will get fired and pushed out, which is probably what happened to the actual good writers in the first place. They were deemed problematic and pushed out. So all they have left are a bunch of cult members who like each other and nobody else. And all have the same political motives, which is to make everything that they make political. And if you don't like it, then you're just racist or sexist or a transphobe.
And not make changes to her because she kind of, fits. She kind of fits with a tougher female character who goes against the norms and shuts down the naysayers. And she isn't fighting against sexism in her storyline either, because apparently they're so offended they can't even show that. But they found a way, though. It's interesting. They found a way to mess up her character and misinterpret her and change her. And they're not understanding the core reasons why her character was even like that. So I'm wondering, is it an example of the pendulum swinging too far back and them just misunderstanding criticism?
They're misunderstanding the characters totally. Here's how I think that they're making this show. Because they're kind of doing it episode by episode. So what I think they're doing is they'll take an episode and they'll watch the episode and then make an episode about that episode. So they don't know where the characters are going. They don't know how to make the characters. They're just doing what they want in that episode, and then they'll make the new one, the next one. Watch the next episode and be like, okay, so we did this with this character, but the character does something else in this episode. So we're going to have to work around this. That's kind of what it feels like they're doing. That's kind of what it felt like that they did.
I don't know, because I don't understand the mindset of the people running this show. It's like they just have to find a way. It's like they don't even have a consistent ideology or anything. They just have to find a way to wreck these characters. But my mindset is always, I'm on the side of these characters first. I don't care what your ideology is. Can these characters be done correctly? Can you actually respect them as who they are and not have to change them because you're trying to appease anyone in a certain group? But that's unfortunate. It's crazy how many people work behind the scenes these days. They can't understand basic things about the characters, and they are always changing them, I guess, as just a reaction to the society of the time. Well, we have to change this character because it wasn't good enough. We have to change this character, and they don't understand the
They're not changing the characters as a reaction to the times. They're changing the character because they want to build a world for the future that they want to live in. And they don't want us living in it.
reason why you're milking Avatar: The Last Airbender so hard is because that show was so well written and they did their characters so right that people love those characters. They don't need to be changed. The only reason why this is an IP for you guys to milk is because it was so good in the first place. Why would you think that you need to change anyone? So
because money. They wanted to make their own show, but they're not good enough to make an actual new show and get people to watch it. So they had to take an old IP and make it theirs. They had to change it because they think they can do better. Or maybe even they don't think they can do better, but they can definitely still make money.
in other words, my mission statement for this channel is it is always on the side of the characters first. Is it bad to have more feminine characters? No. Is it necessarily bad because you have a more masculine female character? Also no. It is all, sometimes we might have feelings based on just what we've seen a lot of and that we want to see some of the other thing, but you should not change the characters that already worked like this, change the core elements of them because you're trying to appease anyone. But maybe that isn't even the reason. Maybe they are just that stupid that they just don't understand this character, but it was just a little odd to me.
I think they don't understand the characters because they don't care, from the things that I said previously.
To see such a major change to a character in the name of being more feminine when we haven't really seen that from Hollywood lately. So I'm just questioning the motives, and I'm questioning exactly where is Hollywood at right now in terms of how ideology and the standards of the day are affecting their writing, and are they ever gonna just respect any of their characters that they're constantly trying to milk to death? But that's all I got for you guys today on these thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. We have 8 channel members signing up. You can become a channel member if you would like. And that means that you guys...
Well, Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2 is fucked. I'm still gonna watch it, but I'm definitely not paying for it. And I don't think anybody should pay for it. But also, I don't think anybody should pay for streaming services. Because I'm never going to again. Ever. And this is the reason. Halo, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Lord of the Rings, The Witcher, all of these things. So many shows that I wanted to be 10 out of 10 that should have been and could have been 10 out of 10. It was so easy to see how they could make these shows 10 out of 10 shows. But they decided to do their own thing, to change the source material's stories and characters because they wanted to make something new. Then you should have just made something new. But then it wouldn't made money because they can't write anything good. They had to steal old IPs or like work their way into the old IPs and make something new out of it because they don't have original ideas that are good. And they have to make money somehow. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about this for now until probably season 2 comes out and I'll get it watched. Probably make a video about it when the first episode airs. It's going to be so bad. I'm out.